Chiefs Kingdom. Welcome into a brand new episode of the Chiefs Report by Chad Sports. The Combine is coming to a close today. The offensive linemen are testing as I'm filming this. It's noon on Sunday, March 1st. As always, my name is Jackson Durham, and today we're going to focus on overall Combine takeaways for the Kansas City Chiefs and for Chiefs fans. I think three things that Chiefs fans should be thinking about as we exit the 2026 NFL Combine, as we come to a close. There's a lot of overreaction that goes on in the media, as there always is, but we're going to lock in on what I feel is really important today from the Kansas City Chiefs and from the NFL Combine. And we're not going to waste any time. We're going to get right into it with our first takeaway. Running back is very clearly a primary focus. We saw that in the meeting trends. It felt like they were meeting with every running back. They met with Jeremiyah Love. They met with Jadarian Price. They met with Jonah Coleman. They met with Emmett Johnson, like the top four running backs on the consensus big board. They met with all of those guys. They met with a number of other ones as well. But it definitely feels like, and this isn't a surprise, this is something we've discussed on the channel ad nauseum, to be completely honest with you. But running back is a need on this roster. Isaiah Pacheco is a pending free agent. It doesn't feel likely that he's coming back this offseason. Kareem Hunt, also technically a pending free agent, does feel a little bit more likely that he will be retained, given how successful he was in his role as a short area back. But it definitely feels like running back is a need. Those two guys did not get the job done for the Kansas City Chiefs last season. We were one of the least, in fact, I believe we were the least explosive running back group in the entire NFL, generated the lowest number of plays from the running back group of runs over 10 yards or more, very few runs of 20 plus yards, and I don't remember a single home run play from our running back group all season long. That was the reality of it last season. Patrick Mahomes had too much on his shoulders because the running back room could not deliver. So let me ask you a question here. Do you want a running back at 9 overall? Really, do you want Jeremiyah Love at 9 overall? That's the only running back in this draft that you would take at that spot. Let me know in the comments, yes or no. Do we want Jeremiyah Love at number 9? I have made my feelings on it known. I feel like he would be an elite addition to this offense. Absolutely, he would. And he, at the Combine this week, absolutely made his feelings known on the matter, that he thinks he would be an elite addition to the Kansas City Chiefs offense. I wish I could show you guys this clip. I can't. It comes from a number of different podcasts. But in fact, that's the other part about this is there's multiple clips that I could show you because, and I'm sure you've seen them on social media. Not too hard to find. They've been reposted endlessly. But Jeremiyah Love made it very clear he wants to play for the Chiefs. Obviously, he's a Missouri guy. He grew up in St. Louis. He went to Christian Brothers College, CBC, one of my biggest rivals growing up in St. Louis as a Chaminade man, Estovere. But we'll forgive him for that because he was unbelievable at the high school level as both a high school track star, which you definitely saw on Saturday when that guy ran the 40 at 4.37. Unbelievable at that size. Really, really is. 212 pounds running that fast. This dude's a freak. And he said, I want to play with the best quarterback in the league. And then added, you know who that is. And when brought up directly on Rich Eisen's show, would you like to play for the Kansas City Chiefs? Obviously, you grew up in Missouri. Obviously, that would be close to home. He said yes, it would be a blessing to play for the Kansas City Chiefs. It would be awesome to play with Patrick Mahomes. I know I could bring a lot to that offense. He wants to be here. He's not making any secret of it. He wants to be in Kansas City. I mean, it's as clear as day. That's where he wants to be. But can the Chiefs make it happen is a legitimate and fair question to ask at this point because of what he went out there and did on Saturday. I mean, could you have helped us out a little bit, Jeremiyah? Just test bad, man. Just go out there and flub it on the 40, run 4.5. Whatever. 4.37, man. 4.37. It's tough. Sitting at number 9, it is quite clear that the Chiefs do not control their own destiny in this matter. At the end of the day, it's something you guys point out in the comments a lot. I sometimes talk, and I'm guilty of this for sure, like getting Jeremiyah Love is a surefire thing. Like you can absolutely make that happen, and the reality of it is you can't. The reality of it is Jeremiyah Love may go to some other team in the top 8 because they fall in love with him for the unbelievable tape and the testing numbers he just put on display on Saturday. Can't blame him. It's why we're in love with them. I mean, like, it's not hard. It's known that the Saints want to address running back. Kellen Moore on the NFL Combine broadcast, for those that watch, you already know this, but he spoke and he told Rich Eisen, who asked him directly, are you averse to taking running back in the top 10? And he was like, no, we don't care. Like, we're going to take good football players. So very clearly the Saints are open to the idea of it, and Jeremiyah Love is put on display. He's a damn good football player. So he checks off their boxes. And then we also know, or at least it's been reported, I shouldn't say we know, it's been reported that the Titans view him as the best player in the entire draft. So there's a good chance that they go with him at 4 as well. It's definitely not a non-factor, although that roster has so many needs, it would be a little bit of a like, whoa, okay. Like, I know you need to support Cam Ward, but that might be too much of a luxury pick for them that I don't think they could afford. However, so at the end of the day, you're looking at the possibility of Jeremiyah Love going as high as 4. That's where the Titans are. Is that likely? I'm not 100% sure, but it is known that they view him as the best player in the draft. I think there's probably a lot of teams that view him as the best player in the draft at the end of the day. He's just a fantastically talented player. That doesn't mean all of those teams would trade up to draft him, or would make moves to go get him. But I think that might be the reality of it for Kansas City at this point, is you might have to make a move to go get Jeremiyah Love. And is that a move that you can afford? Can you afford realistically to trade up from 9? I don't think so. You're mortgaging future draft capital at that point that you really just can't afford to mortgage. The Chiefs have been open that the draft is the lifeblood of this team with the contracts that they have in place, with the guys that they already want to keep around. They have to hit on draft picks, and they can't afford to give up too many of them. And at the end of the day, I don't think you want to give up what you'd have to give up to go up and get Jeremiyah Love, so you have to hope that he falls into your lap at number 9. That's the reality of it. You have to hope that the Combine honeymoon effect kind of wears off a little bit here. Teams reassess. They want to draft for positional value, and Jeremiyah Love ends up in your lap at number 9. Is that impossible? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There are a million ways that happens on draft night, but it may not be as likely as it was before Friday. In fact, it definitely is not as likely as it was before Friday. All right, let's move on from running back. Let's have a conversation about what I do feel like, at the end of the day, feels like the most likely option for the Kansas City Chiefs at number 9. And that is going with an edge defender. And there's a couple reasons why I feel that way. Number one is the meeting trends that we saw. Obviously, we saw them meet with a ton of running backs, but it wasn't just first-round running backs. You know, you go down the board a little bit. Jadarian Price, he's likely to be available around your second-round draft pick. Jonah Coleman will definitely be available there. Emmett Johnson would definitely be available there. Likely probably reaches at that point, but you could maybe get him in the 3rd as well. There are ways to address running back that don't involve spending 9 on Jeremiyah Love. You could go in free agency. Travis Etienne has been heavily connected to this team. That is something that I absolutely intend to discuss. Shout out to those who've been DMing me about that. You guys are real ones, and I'm not ignoring you. It is not off the agenda. We have just been so busy with the NFL Combine that it's been tough to get to. But that video is coming. We are going to talk about Travis Etienne's connection to the Kansas City Chiefs. Absolutely, absolutely. And if you do that in free agency, if you go get him, if you go get Rico Dowdle, if you go get any of the number of available free agent running, Ken Walker, Breece Hall, probably Breece Hall's not going to be available. He's probably going to get tagged. But Ken Walker might be available. There's a lot of good names in the market here. And it kind of connects back to, right, the Brett Veach comments that we've talked about heavily on this show, that we've spoken about at length, about positional value that he said on the Combine quite recently. And you have to value what you can get in the draft at the end of the day. You have to value you have to value what you can get in free agency against what you can get in the draft. When you have a top 10 draft pick, you have to address premium positions with it. That's not exactly what he said, but it's pretty much the summation of what he said in so many words. So we'll talk more about that in just 1 minute. But before we do, I got to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, and that is Prize Picks. Guys, shoot your shot on Prize Picks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right. Prize Picks is now giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5. Prize Picks makes every dunk, every dime, and every board that much more exciting. So don't miss this chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. Obviously, football season not on right now, but you guys can still pick from all of your favorite sports, anything from basketball, baseball, hockey, UFC, soccer, college basketball, tennis, golf, esports, and more. I've got my lineup going for tonight's basketball action. I'm going with the more on Kyle Kuzma's 3 points made. I'm going with the more on Anthony Edwards' points, and I am going with the more on Asur Thompson's assists. So you guys can join me and millions of users and sign up for America's #1 sports picks app today. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, that's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Absolutely it is. And I feel like we're on the right track when it comes to discussing edge defender as what it will likely be for the Kansas City Chiefs at 9. And again, like we talked about with running back earlier, it's a massive need on this roster. That's not something we haven't discussed. That's something we've discussed just like it is with running back pretty much ad nauseum. I'm sure you guys are sick of hearing me extol how bad this Chiefs pass rush was at the end of the day. But there's a number of guys that you could look to add. And I want to talk about how they tested at the combine. We talked about this at length in our combine meetings and combine results video that we did over the weekend. So if you want more on that, go check that out. But briefly, Reuben Bain, who the Kansas City Chiefs met with out of Miami, probably my top edge defender. Honestly, not probably. He is my top edge defender in this draft for the Kansas City Chiefs. He is unbelievably talented and fits what they need. He did not participate in the combine testing. And I think for our purposes, that's good news. That's going to drop him down the board for some teams. For some teams, testing is incredibly important. And when you don't participate, you don't check boxes for them. I don't know exactly how the Kansas City Chiefs are going to view that at the end of the day, but I think they'll view the talent on tape over the value of the testing, and they might go with Bain if he's available at 9. In fact, I think they absolutely would, especially if Jeremiyah Love is already off the board. That feels like a no-brainer draft pick for them. Keldric Faulk, he's another guy that the Kansas City Chiefs have been connected to that they did meet with, the edge defender from Auburn. Pretty meh testing results, and he got a video kind of going viral of him being pretty bad at the hoop drill, or at least like appearing to be pretty bad. I think when you look at it more closely, he does bend. He just kind of bends in an unusual way, and that's mostly because he's 6'6", 256 pounds. He's a massive, massive human being. It is hard for a guy like that to bend in the way that some of the smaller edges can. And it's not like those guys are small either. They're also huge men. But Keldric Faulk is just very tall for an edge defender at 6'6". So you're not going to see him bend as naturally as some of the smaller guys do. But you do see incredible ankle bend with him. You do see his ankles kind of flex out and create almost like a 45-degree angle for his leg in a way that just feels almost unnatural, in a way that you worry about injury. But he does get there. Like when you watch the hoop drill, what you're looking for is how tight can you stay to that hoop? And he does stay tight to the hoop. It looks clunky. It looks awkward. And you wonder, how does that translate to the NFL level? Even though he's like technically where you want him to be in terms of like drill performance, how does that translate against NFL offensive linemen who can hold you in place when you're not running around a hula hoop that doesn't obviously hold you in place? All of that on edge defender, pertinent. I still think that edge defender feels like the likely target at 9, especially if running back is not available. And I think even if Jeremiyah Love is available, it's going to be a coin flip decision there to some degree between those. Let's talk about something else, though. This has kind of bubbled up today on Twitter. I was seeing a lot of discussion around this. Is tackle a sneaky priority for this Kansas City Chiefs team at 9? Offensive tackle specifically. This was reported. Daniel Harms, Bleacher Report, covers the Kansas City Chiefs. He had this. He said the Kansas City Chiefs are more likely to go with a tackle at 9 than you think. And it kind of I was like, when I saw that, I don't know. And I'm still not sure. As I kind of toss it around in my head, there's always a chance at the end of the day. Offensive line is one of the most important positions for every team in the NFL, but we know, and we've discussed this before, that the Kansas City Chiefs value it at a higher degree. That protection of Patrick Mahomes is, for this franchise, and building around Patrick Mahomes in a way that supports him meaningfully is the most important thing. So they'll do what they feel needs to be done to do that. And if they think an offensive line addition is needed, I don't think it's entirely out of the realm of possibility, but it does feel unlikely, in my opinion, that you'd invest a first-round draft pick at an offensive tackle after doing that last season and getting really solid performance from Josh Simmons when he was on the field. Obviously, he had the issue where he had to leave and go. We don't really know exactly what he went to do, but he missed a decent amount of time for that. Not trying to be disrespectful, but it's just we don't have any information about that situation with Josh Simmons at the end of the day, and I'm not going to speculate about it, but it is the reality of the situation. He missed significant time because of it. And then he also got injured at the end of the year, and they shut him down. Understandably so at that point. But when he did play, we saw Josh Simmons showed the growth and the potential to be the lockdown franchise left tackle that this team needs. Right tackle is ultimately the question at this point going forward. But I think you have potential answers to it, right? Like Jalen Moore is still on this team. You're paying Jalen Moore a lot of money to be a backup if he does end up being a backup. Asa Pillay showed good flashes when he got to play and should have another entire offseason under his belt of good training, good preparation, and good improvement. I could definitely see him taking a solid step. And then you've also got Wanye Morris, who I feel like gets kind of buried in discussion here, largely because he just hasn't played well, so maybe deservedly so. But he's still on this team. The Chiefs still, I think, have organizational belief in him and his potential to develop. He was always going to be a project, and he's shown that he is maybe a bigger project than the Chiefs thought when they initially took it on. But he's still there, and he still offers solid depth. This room feels, in my book, maybe not set. I think you could still add to it, and I expect the Kansas City Chiefs to add depth to the offensive line later in the draft. But it doesn't feel like a position group that you need to add in the first round at the end of the day. At least not to me. But I want to hear from you guys. Where do you want the Chiefs to go at 9? Pick a position group for me. For running back, type RB. For edge, type edge. For offensive tackle, type OT or other. Give me another position. If there's something else you want the Kansas City Chiefs to draft, let me know in the comments. Receiver comes to mind. We're going to talk more about the receiver combine results. We hit on a lot in this video, but we've got more combine content coming on Monday when I get back in the office. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you lock in for that if you haven't already. We are your one-stop shop for everything Kansas City Chiefs offseason, everything Kansas City Chiefs draft, and everything around the Kansas City Chiefs NFL combine news. So if you made it to this point in the video, you might as well lock in for the next one, which is coming tomorrow, and I will see you guys then. As always, let's go Kansas City Chiefs.